calling me back again. There's a pale blue sky and an orange sunset down a place I can't forget. You go down home when the sun goes low. Head off the highway to a painted western sky. Walk down a worn path through the back door, cooking in the kitchen and the kettle is warm. Then you sit down home.
Welcome to Great Chefs of the West, a video cooking symposium of regional cookery offered by the chefs of the West and Southwest. From Houston, Texas, a first course by Chef Robert Del Grande. From Aspen, Colorado, an entree by Chef Gordon Nacarado. From San Francisco, a dessert by Chef Brad Ogden. And home-based cooking from San Antonio.
Cafe Annie is a success story on a busy shopping strip in Houston. Robert Del Grande came to Cafe Annie in 1981 with no restaurant experience and a doctorate in biochemistry. 1 year later, he became chef, and despite his unlikely background, was soon receiving national media attention. With wife and partner, Mimi, running the front of the house, Chef Del Grande uses the kitchen as a laboratory for developing what he calls great discoveries. The starter for this program is one of his discoveries and a signature dish of the restaurant, cream of cilantro soup with mussels. It begins with 2 bunches coarsely chopped parsley and twice that amount of cilantro. Coarsely chopped onion, garlic cloves, and serrano chilies follow.
Put 2 chilies in. Just take the stems off. In this case, I usually even leave the seeds inside because it gives it a nice spunk. But if you like, you can simply just cut the rib tissue from the inside out, which holds most of the spice.
The ingredients go into a blender.
Now here's the major trick of the whole recipe, and that is how to blend things that are virtually dry. Because once they start, you want it to be very, very thick. I put a little bit of fish stock in there, help it get started. And then we'll see how it does. You just have to keep sort of working it down, getting it going. Patience is the key. If you try to put too much liquid inside in the beginning, you'll end up with a very liquidy green sort of puree.
The elapsed time of this process was actually 5 minutes.
You can have one of those signs that's, 2.5 days later, it's almost done. Yeah, what you end up with then is a real bright green, sort of thick paste. But it must be very thick so it stands up on its own.
Next, mussels are steamed.
Put a little bit of water, a little bit of stock inside. And then cover them over. So at this point, it's very quick to make because these will steam on their own inside and generate their own liquid and stock. Then we have in the puree all the flavoring that's going to go in at the last minute. So, As you can see, the steam coming out now. Well, they usually open very quickly. Just a few minutes will do it. If you're trying to steam a lot of them, you can move them around so they get adjusted in their position. It's very quick, though. So once they've steamed open, just take them out of the pan, leaving their juice behind. And this here then is the liquid that's all come from the mussels. We just let that boil to let it reduce down a little bit.
The hot mussels are shucked.
Pry them out. At least it saves your fingers a little bit. Okay, then you just find a nice shell for when you put a little garnish at the end. When this is down, where it's just foaming like that, we add a little bit of fresh, heavy cream. This gives the soup its body and thickness. We'll let that come to a boil.
When the cream and stock mixture has thickened, some of the cilantro puree is added.
What we do is put it in and then allow it to boil a few seconds. And that actually lets it cook out and all the flavors sort of expand in the soup. So right now it's not boiling. If we were to taste it now, I'll taste it. It tastes like very raw ingredients, but it's pureed so finely that as we let it come up to a boil, we add some more of the juice in the mussels. It very quickly cooks, turns bright green. I'm going to put a little more cream. It's a little thick. A little bit. The whole trick is that you satisfy your personal taste, because you can add a little bit here, a little bit there. We'll let it come up to a boil. Then add the mussels back in.
The mussels are warmed through and the soup is presented.
Just spoon the mussels into the bowl, and then pour the very hot soup over the top. Okay, and then as a garnish, we put a little bit of this ancho chili jam, which is ancho chilies that are soaked in water and pureed to form like a preserve, with honey and garlic and vinegar, sort of peppery and sweet and tart, that we sort of float in the soup, which gives a flavor contrast between the salty, spicy mussels and this sweet, sort of earthy flavored jam. And then at the last minute, just before it goes out, we add a few leaves of cilantro for garnish. And just so everyone knows, that's the primary herb inside, and that's the finished soup.
There's a road headed to the west, and it's calling me back again. There's a pale blue sky and a northern sunset, and a place I can't forget. And you go down home when the sun goes low. Head off the highway to a painted western sky. Walk down a worn path through the back door, cooking in the kitchen and the kettle is warm. Then you sit down